I never imagined seeing them both broken on the same day. Yet there they were, Julia, pregnant and abandoned, begging for my forgiveness in the middle of a crowded mall, and John, my ex-husband, drunk and defeated on my mother's doorstep hours later. How quickly fortunes change in a year. Melissa, please. John's bloodshot eyes looked up at me, his voice cracking as he struggled to stand from my mother's front steps. I've lost everything. Let me come home. I stared at the disheveled stranger before me. This man who once called my pregnant body a damn elephant waddling around, who abandoned me for my best friend when I was 6 months pregnant with his child. His once immaculate appearance was gone, his hair unwashed, his designer clothes wrinkled and stained, the stench of alcohol surrounding him like a cloud. Now he wanted salvation. The irony wasn't lost on me. For months after he left, I'd fantasized about this moment, him crawling back, desperate and sorry. I thought I'd feel vindicated, triumphant even. Instead, I felt nothing. The man who once held such power over my emotions now seemed pathetically small. Home? I repeated, my daughter Emma sleeping peacefully inside, unaware her father was outside our door for the first time in her life. This stopped being your home the moment you chose her over us. Flashback, the discovery. It all collapsed 13 months ago, on a Tuesday afternoon that started like any other. I was folding baby clothes in the nursery we had just painted yellow, humming to myself, feeling Emma kick inside me. The doorbell rang, and I opened it to find Karen standing there, her face pale with reluctance. I knew something was wrong the second I saw her. Come in, I said, concern rising in my chest. What's happened? She sat awkwardly on the edge of our couch, the one John and I had spent weeks choosing, arguing playfully about leather versus fabric. Karen twisted her hands in her lap, avoiding my eyes. I saw John today with Julia, she finally said, each word falling between us like stones. They were coming out of a hotel together. They kissed in the hallway. My mind rejected the information, creating a strange buzzing in my ears. John and Julia? My husband and my best friend of 12 years? Julia, who had helped me pick out my wedding dress, who had cried with me through 3 miscarriages before this pregnancy finally took. What do you mean? A hotel? I remember asking, my voice oddly calm, as if we were discussing someone else's life. Are you sure? This is a serious accusation. Karen nodded, her eyes full of pity. My cousins were visiting, staying at that hotel. I was on my way to their room when I saw them. They didn't see me, but they were coming out of a room together. They kissed right there in the hallway. She paused, her voice softening. I'm so sorry, Melissa, but you needed to know. I sat down, my hand instinctively covering my 6-month pregnant belly, as if to shield our daughter from what I was hearing. The nursery mobile I'd been assembling that morning still lay on the coffee table, its tiny stars and moons suspended in midair, just like my life. Did they see you? I asked, focusing on this irrelevant detail rather than the collapsing reality around me. No, Karen said. I ducked into the stairwell. I nodded mechanically, as if this information made any difference at all. My world was falling apart in my living room, and all I could think about was whether they knew they'd been caught. Flashback. The confrontation. That night, I waited for John, my stomach in knots and my heart pounding in my chest. I rehearsed what I would say, how I would remain calm and dignified. When his car pulled into the driveway, something in me hardened. I needed truth, not his usual charm and deflection. John walked in casually, loosening his tie, the same tie I'd given him for his birthday last year. He kissed my cheek absently, the way he always did, as if this day was no different from any other. Before he could even set down his keys, I asked, how long has it been going on with Julia? His expression shifted from confusion to defensiveness in seconds. What are you talking about? He said, but his eyes darted away from mine. Karen saw you at the hotel with Julia today. You kissed her in the hallway. Karen? He scoffed, reaching for a glass in the cabinet. That woman's nuts. She probably misunderstood something innocent. I'd expected denial, but not this dismissive tone, as if my concerns were trivial, as if I was being hysterical. I'd seen this tactic before. My father used it on my mother for years before she finally found the courage to leave him. He'd call her paranoid, oversensitive, until she began to doubt her own perception of reality. Don't you dare lie to me, John. My voice broke as anger overtook my practiced calm. Karen isn't nuts, and you know it. She saw you with Julia leaving a hotel room. She saw you kiss her. So don't stand there and insult my intelligence. He paced our kitchen like a caged animal, throwing his hands up in frustration. Melissa, you're blowing this out of proportion, he snapped. Karen probably saw something innocent and twisted it in her head. Julia and I are just friends, that's all. Just then, Emma kicked inside me, a flutter that reminded me what was really at stake. This wasn't just about me or my marriage. This was about our daughter, about the family that was supposed to welcome her in 3 months. Do you even care about us, John? I asked, my voice quieter but heavy with emotion. Do you care about your daughter? She's in here, moving, while you stand there lying to my face. His eyes flickered to my belly momentarily, but his face remained cold and unreadable. This isn't about the baby, he said flatly. Don't make this more dramatic than it needs to be. It was in that moment I knew I was truly on my own. I felt tears welling up, but I refused to let them fall in front of him. Flashback, the cruelty, what followed still haunts me sometimes. John's mask fell completely, revealing a cruelty I never knew lived inside the man I'd married. You've been nothing but a whiny, overgrown baby ever since you got pregnant, he snapped, his voice ice cold. Every day it's something. Your back hurts, your feet are swollen, you're tired. I get it, you're pregnant, but you act like you're the first woman in the world to have a kid. It's pathetic. I stood frozen as he looked me up and down, his face twisting with disgust. You're massive, Melissa. Honestly, you're starting to look like a damn elephant waddling around here. It's embarrassing. His words stabbed deeper with each syllable. You don't even try anymore. It's just sweatpants and that ugly greasy bun. Julia, she's gorgeous. She actually takes care of herself, and she's fun to be around. You? You're just a moody, needy mess, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise. Growing up, I'd watched my father belittle my mother about her appearance after each of my siblings was born. He'd make comments about her weight, about how she'd let herself go. I'd sworn I'd never let a man speak to me that way. Yet here I was, standing in my kitchen, being torn apart by the father of my unborn child. You don't even care. I managed to choke out, my voice barely a whisper. Not about me, not about Emma, not about anything we built together. He just shrugged, his expression cold and indifferent. I've moved on, Melissa, he said flatly. Maybe you should too. Those words hit me like a slap, and I realized in that moment that the man I thought I'd married had never really existed. Flashback, the aftermath. The next morning, I packed what I could into 2 suitcases and left. I couldn't stay in that house, surrounded by memories of a life that no longer existed. Every corner reminded me of him, of us, and it felt like the walls were closing in on me. My mother had offered weeks ago for me to stay with her if I needed support during the pregnancy, sensing something was wrong before I did. Mothers often do. When I arrived at her house, she took one look at me and opened her arms. I collapsed against her, finally letting the tears come. It was the first time I'd cried since Karen told me the truth. It's going to be okay, Melissa, she whispered, holding me tightly. You and Emma are going to be okay. I'm here, and we'll get through this together. My mother understood what it meant to start over. She'd done it herself at 40, leaving my father after 20 years of emotional abuse. I'd been 16 then, angry at her for breaking up our family. Now, at 32, I finally understood her courage. The weeks that followed blurred together. John vanished from my life. No calls, no texts, no questions about the baby, nothing. It was as if he had erased us from his world, like we had never existed to him. The man who had shared my bed for 4 years, who had cried when we saw our daughter on the ultrasound, who had painted her nursery and assembled her crib, had simply erased us from his life. My mother never said, I told you so, though she'd had reservations about John from the beginning. Instead, she helped me prepare for Emma's arrival, turning her sewing room into a nursery, accompanying me to doctor's appointments, holding my hand through the fear and uncertainty. When I moved into my mom's house, I packed away every photo of him, every trace of him from my old life, and tucked them into a box I shoved into the back of the closet. Sometimes I'd catch myself thinking about him, not in longing, but in disbelief. How could someone just disappear from their own child's life before it had even begun? It was like John had never existed, but his absence was loud, and it echoed in every moment I was left to face alone. Flashback: Emma's birth. When Emma finally arrived, something shifted inside me. The labor was long and difficult, 18 hours of pain that seemed endless. But when they placed her in my arms for the first time, her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, I felt an overwhelming wave of love that washed away everything else. "You look just like her," my mother said softly, tears in her eyes as she stood beside the hospital bed. Just like Melissa when she was born. In that moment, I realized John's absence had become irrelevant. What mattered was this perfect little person in my arms, and the unconditional love I felt for her. For the first time in months, I didn't feel broken. I felt whole. It didn't matter that John wasn't there. It didn't matter that he had chosen to walk away. In that moment, all that mattered was Emma, and she was mine, my beautiful, precious little girl. The early weeks with Emma were a whirlwind of exhaustion and joy. Between the late night feedings and figuring out how to be a mom, I barely had time to think about anything else. She had the most beautiful eyes, big and bright, full of wonder, and when she looked at me, it felt like everything was going to be okay. My mother helped a lot, but I insisted on doing as much as possible myself. Each small victory, getting through a night alone, soothing Emma's cries, watching her grow, rebuilt my confidence piece by piece. There were still moments when the loneliness crept in. I'd see fathers doting on their kids at the grocery store or hear friends talk about their partners helping with nighttime feeds, and it stung. But then I'd look at Emma, and all the sadness faded. She was my world now, and every smile she gave me, every little coo, made it all worth it. I didn't need John to be happy. I had everything I needed right there in my arms. Present day mall encounter: "Melissa?" The voice stopped me in my tracks. I was at the mall, enjoying my first few hours alone since Emma's birth. My mother had insisted I take some time for myself, promising to watch Emma. I turned, and my heart stopped. It was Julia. She looked different, her face pale, eyes red and puffy, and there was no mistaking the slight swell of her stomach. Before I could react, she rushed toward me, her voice breaking. "Melissa, I'm so sorry," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks as she grabbed my arm. I froze completely, caught off guard. Julia, the woman who had shattered my life, was standing in front of me, crying like a child. She didn't seem like the confident, manipulative person I remembered. Her shoulders were slumped, her designer clothes replaced by a baggy sweater, and her hands trembled as she wiped her face. "I know I'm the last person you want to see," she sobbed, her words tumbling over each other. "But I need to tell you everything." I didn't say a word. I just stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, waiting for her to continue. "John left me," she choked out. He, he lost his job a few months after we got together, and things got bad. He started gambling, drinking, and when I told him I was pregnant, he just left. He said he couldn't handle it." She covered her face, her body shaking with sobs. "I don't know what to do, Melissa. I'm so sorry for everything I did to you. You didn't deserve any of it." Julia's father had gambled away their family home when she was 12. She'd once told me it was why she was so obsessed with financial security, with finding a stable man. The irony of her situation wasn't lost on me. She'd stolen what she thought was stability, only to discover it was a facade. "Please, Melissa," she begged, her voice breaking. "I know I don't deserve it, but I need you to forgive me. I was selfish and stupid, and I ruined everything. I wish I could take it all back." For months, I'd imagined this moment: Julia begging for forgiveness, me delivering the perfect, cutting response that would make her feel as small as I'd felt. But standing there, watching her fall apart in the middle of the mall, I felt nothing but a quiet understanding that vengeance is often unnecessary. Life has its own way of balancing accounts. Without a word, I turned and walked away, leaving her there in the middle of the mall. Present day, doorstep confrontation. I never expected to find John waiting on my mother's doorstep when I returned from the mall. For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. He looked so different, unkempt, exhausted, and reeking of alcohol. His hair was messy, his clothes wrinkled, and he barely looked like the man I used to know. Melissa, he muttered, struggling to stand. I needed to see you. My mother had taken Emma for a walk, a small mercy I was grateful for. I didn't want my daughter's first glimpse of her father to be this broken man. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice sharp and unforgiving. He staggered slightly, leaning against the door frame. I'm sorry, he stammered. I love you, Melissa. I love Emma. Please let me come back. I'll fix everything. I swear I will. His voice cracked, but all I felt was disgust and a cold, biting clarity. John's father had abandoned his family when he was 8, leaving his mother to raise 3 children alone. He'd once told me, in a rare vulnerable moment, that his greatest fear was becoming his father. Yet here he was, having done exactly that, abandoned his child before she was even born. Sorry? I repeated, my voice thick with disbelief. You're sorry? You left us without a second thought, and now you're here, smelling like a bar, talking about feeling sorry and loving us? Where was that love when I was 6 months pregnant and you walked out on me? Where was it when Emma was born and I was in the hospital alone? He ran a hand through his messy hair, his shoulders slumping like the weight of the world was pressing down on him. I know, Melissa, he said, his voice cracking. I know I've screwed up. I've lost everything. You, Emma, my job, my money. I've been such an idiot, and I can't stop thinking about what I threw away. Please, just give me a chance to make it right. A year ago, these words might have moved me. Now, they simply confirmed what I already knew. His regret wasn't about losing us. It was about losing his comfortable life. No, John, I said finally, my voice steady but heavy with emotion. You're not part of my life anymore. Emma and we're better off without you. You made your choice, and now you have to live with it. He broke down, his sobs quiet but heart-wrenching, and for a brief moment, I felt sorry for him. But I knew I had to stay strong, for myself and for Emma. Without another word, I stepped past him, unlocked the door, and closed it behind me, leaving him outside in the dark. Epilogue. New beginnings. Inside, I leaned against the door, the weight of the day finally hitting me. In one day, both people who had nearly destroyed my life, John and Julia, had shown up, broken and ruined by their own choices. I didn't have to lift a finger for it to happen. They had done it to themselves, consumed by the same selfishness and deceit that had shattered my world over a year ago. Later that night, I stood in Emma's room, watching my daughter sleep peacefully in her crib. The soft glow of her nightlight illuminated her perfect little face, so trusting, so innocent. I thought back to everything I'd been through, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the sleepless nights wondering how I would raise Emma on my own. Through it all, I had lived my life with dignity, focusing on my daughter and rebuilding my own sense of worth. My mother appeared in the doorway, her expression questioning. Are you okay? She asked softly, coming to stand beside me. I nodded, surprisingly at peace. You know, when Dad left, you told me something I didn't understand until today. She looked down at her granddaughter, a small smile playing on her lips. What was that? You said sometimes the things we think will break us actually set us free. I smiled at the memory. I thought you were just trying to make me feel better about the divorce. But you were right. My mother squeezed my hand. Emma will never doubt her worth because of a man. You'll make sure of that. We both will, I said, leaning my head on her shoulder. I climbed the stairs quietly and peeked into Emma's room. She was fast asleep, her tiny face peaceful and perfect in the soft glow of the nightlight. I leaned down and kissed her forehead, feeling a surge of gratitude and love. This was my life now, and looking at my daughter's innocent face, I knew with absolute certainty that it was going to be beautiful.